When divisions feel sharp, Michigan Public brings us together. Our balanced reporting highlights shared experiences and different perspectives. This fall member drive support the reporters and fact-checkers who make it possible at michiganpublic.org.
From Michigan Public, this is It's Just Politics. I'm Zoe Clark.
And I'm Rick Pluta.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer says the budget standoff in Lansing is adding to the economic uncertainty created by federal tariffs.
Whitmer delivered an address on Tuesday urging the legislature to get a state budget adopted before the end of the month.
On today's show, with 2 weeks to go before a partial state government shutdown, just how is the state's economy? And what would a shutdown really mean for it?
But first, what did Whitmer say yesterday to try and move the needle in budget negotiations? And will it work?
Let's turn to Dave Eggert, senior reporter at Crain's Detroit Business, who was with us at the speech. Dave, hi.
Hey, how's it going?
So fill us in. What'd the governor have to say?
The governor, with 2 weeks until a deadline to pass the next state budget, essentially sounded the alarm a little bit and kind of put it in the context of national uncertainty with tariffs and just, essentially it seemed to be the message was the last thing we need in Michigan is a budget a government shutdown. Everybody needs to get to the table and get something done here, particularly given there may be a possible shutdown at the federal level and the economic climate she seemed concerned about.
Why is she publicly engaging now?
She has been out of the country on a couple different trade trips to Asia and Europe. So this was an opportunity now that she's back to engage publicly. And she has the pulpit as opposed, I think, to legislative leaders. So it was a chance to kind of get this on the map to the broader public. And yeah, time is running out. 2 weeks. That's just not a lot of time to get something done. I think people are increasingly worried that there could be not just a shutdown, but maybe an extended shutdown.
The governor certainly seemed to make a point in the speech of aligning herself with Democratic Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks and mentioning that they've adopted balanced budgets together in the past. Why do you think she did that?
I think there has been obviously all year tension between Republican House Speaker Matt Hall and Senate Democratic Leader Winnie Brinks. And kind of the undercurrent here has been that maybe the governor was aligning more with Matt Hall, trying to get a deal, and maybe she's going to be able to drag Senate Democrats along to get on board with that. Seems like something has happened in recent weeks. The budget that the House passed, which did come, much later than normal. I think the governor needed to kind of signal, hey, this is not something I support, and my values are generally more aligned with Senate Democrats.
Well, speaking of Republican Speaker Matt Hall, what was the Republican response to this speech?
Essentially, it was, we put out a budget. We think we can find, quote unquote, waste, fraud, and abuse in government. We've put a plan out there. We can put more money into roads without raising taxes. And, his message seemed to be more of the same. Like, I can cut a deal with Gretchen Whitmer and she can kind of negotiate on behalf of Democrats. And that's what he's been, saying for months. But that's not really how it works, right? I mean, you have to have all three parties to get a deal in the end.
Basically, based on the conversations we've heard in the past, just playing the greatest hits.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, he wants Senate Democrats. He wants them to put forward a road funding plan. Actually, put something out there on the table. They've preferred to negotiate behind the scenes, which isn't surprising given Democrats have said there's a need for new tax revenue with some spending cuts if they're going to get some sort of long-term road funding plan. That's off. It's hard to just come out, vote for something like that without knowing it's the end product.
So, Dave, Whitmer comes out. She gives this speech hoping to maybe move the needle. Matt Hall comes out playing the greatest hits. Does any of this bring us closer to getting an actual state budget done by the constitutional deadline of October 1st before a possible partial government shutdown?
I'm not sure that anything that happened with the speech brings us closer to something, but the clock potentially does. I mean, each day pressure's building, whether it's schools, whether, now state employees are worried, are they going to be working on October 1st? Are they going to get paid? I think as we get closer and there's more potential ramifications as people kind of learn more, hey, this could be really bad. Maybe that brings us closer, but I don't know. It does seem like sometimes the actual shutdown or right on the verge of a shutdown is what really shakes things loose.
It's what we've seen in the past. Dave Eggert, senior reporter at Crain's Detroit Business, who will be watching all things Lansing over the next 14 days and beyond. Dave, thanks so much.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Well, let's turn to Charles Ballard, former longtime economics professor at Michigan State University, to dig a little deeper into the state of Michigan's economy. Like, how are we really doing? And what happens to said economy if there is a shutdown? Professor Charlie Ballard, hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us.
Being here. So Governor Gretchen Whitmer delivered this speech on Tuesday saying that she is concerned about the Michigan economy, not just because we have this issue with the state budget, but she's talking big national picture as well because of tariffs. Can you just put into context, how is Michigan's economy right now?
Well, Michigan's economy is, I guess I would say, so-so. 50, 60 years ago, we were one of the most prosperous places on the planet. The long-term decline of manufacturing, and especially the auto industry, that's a huge headwind that we've been facing for decades. The data for 2024 just came out. We are 39th among the 50 states in per capita personal income. So better than Mississippi, but well below the national average. In terms of employment growth, we are above our pre-pandemic level of employment, but only by about 75,000 jobs. We are still below the all-time peak in Michigan employment, which was a quarter of a century ago. So those numbers are not gangbusters. Michigan has not had a fabulous and fast-growing economy in a long time.
And we have new monthly jobs numbers coming out this week. The trend has not been good. What do you think we can expect?
Well, I'm pretty sure we're not going to see a great big increase.
Because the national numbers are not good.
Because the national numbers have slowed way down. I think it's possible that we may have a drop. Now, the state numbers bounce around more from month to month just because of the difficulty of getting the data. So you should never put too much stress on one month, but the long-term picture is of very slow job growth in Michigan, if at all. That's consistent, of course, with the fact that we've got very little population growth. Our population has been stuck at 10 million for this entire century.
Circling back to the governor's speech, she mentioned that we are in troubled times, that tariffs are creating some uncertainty, that the budget is creating some uncertainty, and just as you keep pointing out again and again and again, lo these many years, that the economy is changing. One of the things that she is sticking to in budget negotiations is she wants incentives to lure businesses, especially big manufacturers. Is that going to work?
The track record for that sort of thing is mediocre. Most businesses make most of their decisions about where to locate on the basis of other things besides those incentives. And then if you do give an incentive and somebody does locate, we have a long history in Michigan, in my view, of giving out a whole lot of money and not necessarily getting a whole lot in return. So, I'm not going to say much against it. I just don't think that that's a panacea. If I could snap my fingers and transform Michigan's economy, it would be somehow to really ramp up the degree of education and skills of our population. We are well below the national average in educational attainment, and that correlates incredibly strongly with economic outcomes.
Is the political will just not there to do that?
Well, it The political will certainly hasn't been. I've been in Michigan for 42 years now, and I've seen political will wax and wane. But I think that there are a lot of folks who in Lansing and in Washington whose emphasis is on tax cuts as the solution to all problems. And I view it differently. I think that we should invest more in a lot of things, especially our educational system.
The flip side of that is there are also people who've been coming to Lansing saying that revenue is the problem. And if you're going to identify revenue as the problem, the other, a big part of that equation is where do you get that revenue from? So how do you come up with a formula that's acceptable to the public, that's acceptable to the political class, which is basically an offshoot of that, and doesn't harm your ability to attract more businesses?
Well, Rick, now that's a nice, easy question.
And you have 30 seconds to answer it.
Of course, people all over the world like to have, well, some at least like to have services. Nobody likes to pay for it. So everybody wants somebody else to pay for it. So I've been working on Michigan taxes for decades now, and it's really hard. And we have a tax system that has some structural features built in the property tax, in the sales tax, in the income tax, all of which make it difficult for us to raise revenue. So it would take a lot of political will to get much additional revenue. I am told that there's one bright spot in the revenue picture for Michigan, and that is we're getting a lot of revenue from online gaming. And I know that gambling is going to ruin the lives of a lot of people who can't overcome their gambling addiction, but at least there's some money coming into the state treasury.
But is it really enough to balance the budget?
It is not.
We're talking with Charles Ballard, the author of Michigan's Economic Future, who has literally written the book about Michigan's economic future. So, Professor Ballard, let's talk right in this moment, 2 weeks from a possible partial government shutdown. I'm so curious to hear from you about, let's say, 1201, October 1st comes, and there is not a budget in place. What is the impact on Michigan's economy at that moment?
I think there's at least some impact even before 1201, because I just don't think it helps inspire confidence in the business community, among workers, among anybody, if we have a dysfunctional government. So, and the uncertainty associated with it, that can't be a plus. But then comes 1201, what direct effects would there be? Well, between 1201 and 1202, very little. And we have seen, you probably know how many shutdowns we've had over the years. I've kind of lost count, but many of them only lasted a few hours or something like that. That does the difficulty is, what if it goes on for weeks or longer?
Yeah.
And then I would not want to be a school business official right now.
Yeah.
The school business officials are staying up late and tearing their hair out and trying to figure out, okay, how can we move money? They've got various contingency plans depending upon how long things get delayed, and it's tough. So I really hope people in Lansing can find the courage to make some kind of a deal, and no deal is going to be 100% of what the governor wants, but no deal is going to be 100% of what the House Majority Leader wants either. And so I hope they can do something. Something is better than nothing.
Professor, I'm thinking a lot about 2007 and 2009. Those were the last two times that there was a partial government shutdown. And as you know, they only lasted for a few hours. But economically, it feels like a somewhat different time. I mean, we were in the middle of or heading into the Great Recession. And as you remember well, we had Democratic Governor Jennifer Granholm. We had divided government in the legislature. And they were trying to figure out a budget deficit of $1 billion. There had to be cuts. Yeah. That's different right now. I mean, yes, it's a smaller budget for many different reasons. One, of course, is because of the one big, beautiful bill that we think is going to cut about $1 billion from the state budget. But there is more money than there was the last time there was a partial government shutdown. Is some of this self-inflicted wounds? Like, there isn't such a dramatic difference as there was when the last time we saw the government shutdowns, vis-a-vis the economy, I mean.
Well, 2009 the economy was in just miserable shape. And so we're in better shape than that, although that's setting the bar really low. But yeah, I think most of our wounds are self-inflicted. I mean, these are long-term issues, many of which I think we could have done a better job of, not just last year or the year before, not just in 2009, but a generation ago.
It's great to be able to go back and blame, a generation ago for problems that you've got to fix right now.
Well, yes. I do like to take the long view,
Professor, your book, Michigan's Economic Future, came out in 2010. 15 years on. What'd you get right? What'd you get wrong?
I think I got it all right. Almost all.
So what surprised you then?
I think what has surprised me in the last 15 years is that so little has changed. We have not moved the needle on many things. Oh, here's what I consider our biggest success in the last 15 years. And so that wasn't in my book because I didn't happen yet, was that Rick Snyder was one of, I think, only 2 Republican governors early on who had the political courage to push through the expansion of Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. And as a result of that, at least for now, and we don't know what it's going to be like in the year to come, but at least for now, there's about 500,000 or so, 500,000, 600,000 Michiganders who have health insurance who wouldn't have had health insurance without it. And that health insurance is the one indicator in which we are in the top 10. And I'm proud of that. That's a big policy win.
Finally, as we wrap up, what should we be watching for? What are some indicators when we're watching the health of the state's economy?
Well, certainly the first one that I would always keep an eye on would be the monthly job numbers. And as I say, they do bounce around from month to month. But if that starts in a downward trend, that's something that we really need to worry about. I would look at personal income numbers. I'd also look at, how are the companies doing? How is General Motors and Ford and Dow and other companies doing? Because those are really important players in our economy. And if they're struggling, and we know that the tariffs are having a negative impact on the auto industry, that would be a sign of trouble.
Professor Charles Ballard, thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Always so good to hear from Charlie. Learn something new
every time. And as we said, new state jobless numbers out tomorrow to keep an eye on in all of this.
I know, in all of this. And you will, of course, be reporting on them, Rick.
I will.
And you will hear that here on Michigan Public. And that is It's Just Politics for today. I am Zoe Clark.
And I'm Rick Pluta.
Let's talk again next week.